You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast. It's season 2. It's episode 79. The Cubs' best month of the season. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and most importantly, subscribe to our podcast. Follow us on the socials. Fly the W670 on Twitter, Instagram. Of course, we're on Facebook. And you can email us at flythew670@gmail.com. Crawly, happy Monday. Hope you had a good weekend. And we've got one game into the Major League Baseball's Final Fours. We had a ALCS game on Sunday night.
Yeah, we'll definitely get there. There's some exciting baseball going on. We have two games as we're recording this. One going on right now, ALCS, and then the NLCS makes its debut tonight. And for those of you that miss Cubs baseball, you can listen to Boog and Doug Glanville got the call. So a couple local guys, making the call. So that's kind of cool.
On the Four-Letter Network radio station?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. All right. Very interesting. All right, Crawly. So as we've been doing, we've been looking back our year in review of the Cubs season, and now we are in August to remember.
Yeah, when August, we talked last time we were here at the on June 8th, the Cubs were 10 games under 500. And by the end of July, they were 53-53. So they had climbed all the way back. And Jed decided not to break up the team. And at the trade deadline, he makes 2 trades. Okay. The first one was they knew they wanted some more bullpen arms. And so they traded outfielder Nelson Velasquez for relief pitcher Jose Cuas. Dustin, we talked about how frustrated I was that Nelson Velasquez didn't get a lot of time. Again, basically sat after he hit a grand slam. And my only concern here is I hope that this is not one that comes back to bite him, because if you were watching a lot of KC Royals baseball, which I know people weren't, Nelson Velasquez was hitting.
Only the White Sox are watching KC Royals baseball. They seem to think that that's the solution to all their problems. They're going to get as many guys as they can get from Kansas City over to 35th and Shields.
Well, they might want to look at Nelson Velasquez because he hit a whole lot of home runs for Kansas City. So I'm hoping that's not one that bites the Cubs. But Jose Cuas comes over. But the big deal was that the Cubs acquired former Cubs prospect Jeimer Candelario for Kevin Made and DJ Hurst. So the corner infield spots that were a problem all season now looked settled, Dustin. You had Bellinger at first, and you had Candelario playing third, and he could play first if you needed to move Bellinger into center field. So, the Cubs were ready to go. They took on the Reds in a 4-game series from July 31st to August 3rd. They took 3 of 4 from Cincinnati, winning game 2 by a score of 20-9 and game 3 by a score of 16-6. But Dustin, the biggest impact of that series was not the games that they won, 3 out of 4, but on the one they lost on July 31st. Marcus Stroman would go only 3 innings and give up 6 runs. He would be placed on the IL on August 2nd and wouldn't come off the IL until September 15th. He would make 2 more starts the rest of the season. It was just so unreal how quick that Stroman train derailed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the timing was awful. But during this month, they played like they didn't exactly need him.
No. And so the Cubs would then take on the team with the best record in baseball, the Atlanta Braves. They took 2 of 3 from the Braves at Wrigley. But in game 2, Dustin, David Ross sat Seiya Suzuki. He wasn't in the lineup, and he would be benched for the next 4 games to give him a mental reset. And that move turned out to be pivotal, as Seiya would come back and be one of the most productive Cubs hitters in August and September. Dustin, the next series drove you and I nuts because they went to New York to face on the Metropolitans, and that is where Pete Alonso helped the Mets take 2 of 3 from the Cubs, hitting 4 home runs in 3 days. So I think, Dustin, why the Cub fans want them on their team. They don't want to have to face that guy anymore.
They don't want to face the polar bear anymore. No. Mm-mm.
No, he looked really good. And it's, I wonder what the asking price is going to be for prospect wise. Again, if if they're going to try to rip off the Cubs or if they're going to be realistic, it would be something to look into, even if it's, it's a 1-year rental. So
what if they want Pete Crow Armstrong back?
They're not getting Pete Crow Armstrong. You're not, there's going to be there's going to be a few untouchables, but no, not for a 1-year rental. And that's what I'm thinking, is that with the depth of the Cubs system, there still might be a deal to be had there somewhere. I think that's a possibility, but the Cubs would then go to Toronto, where they would take 2 of 3 from the Blue Jays before heading home for a 2-game set with the White Sox. They split at 35th and Shields. But now, the Cubs were looking to they took both games at 35th and Shields. So they were looking to take the Wintrust Cup now? I don't even know what it's called anymore.
I'm not even sure who the official sponsor of that series is. I don't know.
So it looks like money well invested, but they were going to play, and the first game ended in disappointment as Luis Robert hit a solar home run in the 7th to break a 3-3 tie, as the Cubs would lose this one 5-3. And it looked like the White Sox would sweep the Cubs as they were losing 3-0 in the 8th. But former White Sox Nick Madrigal hits a solo home run in the 8th to make it a 3-1 game. Then in the bottom of the 9th, Cody Bellinger doubled to lead off the inning. Dansby Swanson would draw a walk, and in one of the most electric moments of the season, Christopher Morel hit a walk-off home run as the Cubs would win it 4-3. Morel sprints around the bases, throws his helmet. He had his jersey and shirt ripped off, all while the new LED lights created a strobe effect, and W's were made out of the lights, which, some people complained. I thought it was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Especially, I go to plenty of games, and when I went to the night games, and, they didn't do it after every home run. I think that would be much, but at the end of the game, it's cool to kind of see
monumental, that type of thing. Absolutely.
That was a fun one right there. And so, the Cubs would then go on to take 2 of 3 from the Royals, 2 of 3 from the Tigers, and 3 of 4 from the Pirates, setting up a big series with first place Milwaukee, only 4 games back at this point. The Cubs would lose game 1 6-2 as the Brewers scored 4 in the first against Seamus and Tyone. I was at that one, and I remember I wasn't even in my seat, and what's Christian Yelich hit a leadoff home run. But the Cubs would win game 2 1-0, a pitcher's duel between Justin Steele and Corbin Burns. I mean, that was what you wanted to see out of Justin at that point. Again, still right in the thick of the Cy Young race, and he was able to go pitch for pitch with former Cy Young Corbin Burns. So that was a great one. Another pitcher's duel for game 3 is Kyle Hendricks took on Brandon Woodruff. The Cubs were up 2-1 in the 8th when the Brewers tied it up in the top of the inning, but Cody Bellinger hit a go-ahead single in the bottom of the inning, and the Cubs won 3-2 to take the series from Milwaukee. And now we're 3 games behind the Brewers for first place entering September. Dustin, I don't know if you saw the news, but it looks like Brandon Woodruff is injured, and he will not. We found out about that injury prior to the last series of the season, but now they're saying he's out next year. So that's
wow. Out next year.
That's my understanding. We'll see. These guys keep coming back quicker and quicker from injury, but when I'm looking at that, that's really going to hurt the Brewers. They were looking when they have those 3 guys.
Yeah, that hurts them badly.
And is Burns going to be back? I mean, that's all stuff we're going to have to kind of keep an eye on. But, I think this offense season is going to be interesting, especially the 2 teams I'm going to be looking at are the Cardinals and the Brewers. And I think that they might be going in opposite directions from last season. But all in all, August was the best month of the season for the Cubs. Dustin, they went 18-9. They won 7 series, and they split the one with the White Sox. The other big thing about this month is they won 8 one-run games.
That's
and
huge.
That was something
that's
that
monstrous.
Hurt.
Yep, that's monstrous.
Yep, you win 8-1, and that's where the bullpen was really just clicking. You said not missing Marcus Stroman. Part of the reason that was because Javier Assad came in, and he started, Dustin, 5 games. And again, the record was 2-0, but he had a 2.48 ERA. Against Atlanta, he gave up 2 runs. That was the shortest start. That was his first one. He gave up 1 run against the Blue Jays, 2 runs against the White Sox, Against Detroit, 2 runs, and against the Pirates, he gave up 1 run. So to see Javier Assad, that was what we were looking for all year. I remember he started the season, kind of struggled a little bit out of the gate, but that was the guy that we saw in the World Baseball Classic.
Right. Yeah, he went back to that form, no doubt.
If you're asking me for next season, I don't see him being a starter. I think the role coming out of the bullpen is going to be where he's going to give you the most value. If I'm going to take a guess on that, but he really helped.
So let's dive a little. Let's follow up with that a second. Okay. Let's follow up with that. So obviously Justin Steele.
Yes.
And
Marcus Stroman.
Okay. So Marcus Stroman is opting back in, and
Jamison Tyone.
Okay. So Tyone was the other one that you knew was going to be in the rotation one way or the other, right?
Right.
So is Kyle Hendricks getting picked up? Sure sounds like it, right?
I think Kyle Hendricks would be getting picked up, and
so there's 4, right? Now we're at 4.
And at that point, you can look at a free agent, or you can look at giving one of the young guys a chance. I mean, you're going to have Hayden Wesneski, Caleb Killian, Jordan Wicks, Ben Brown. These guys are ready to take the next step.
Let's hope they can let's hope whoever doesn't win that 5th spot, assuming they don't buy a pitcher, that all of them then can contribute in the bullpen. I really did like that concept, Crawly. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it proved wrong because of how the bullpen ended up burning out. But I really like the idea, Tommy Hotovy would tell us, that they wanted their best pitchers at the major league level. So even though Hayden Wesneski was thought of as a starter, he was still one of their best pitchers in the organization, even though starting-wise he wasn't super hot. So they wanted him in the pen. So I hope that's a plan next year, depending on what they do, obviously, in free agency.
I'm sure I'm sure at least one of those names I have will be in the bullpen, if not 2.
At least, yeah. I would put the over-under at probably 2.5. I would say 2.5 of those guys are in the Cubs bullpen next year.
And what you're going to see is those guys have options. So let's say someone is injured. You could always, or let's say you have a guy that you say, you know what, I think we really want him to start. You could always send him back to AAA, call someone else up, and stretch those guys out. You know what I mean?
Right. All right. Sorry to derail you for a second there, but
you can always derail me.
I wanted to jump into that a little bit.
Heimer Candelario did a great job back. He slashed in the month of July. Or in the month of August, 275, 337, 473 with 3 home runs, 12 RBIs. I thought that gave the Cubs a big bump at third, and that really lengthened the lineup. You were starting to eliminate kind of some of those easy spots that you get into. And then after struggling in the month of June and July, something awful, that benching of Seiya really turned him around. He slashed in August, 321, 365, 641. With 5 home runs and 13 RBIs. I mean, like I said, Dustin, taking 2 out of 3 from the Brewers, beating Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns. I think, we were all optimistic going into September.
Oh gosh, the optimism, Crawly, was through the roof. Before we move on, I want to do what we just did a second ago. Now I want to talk about Candelario. So he's in a 1-year deal. So he's going to be a free agent, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How do you feel about him? Is he a guy that, assuming they could bring Cody Bellinger back, that you would be okay with at third base?
Yeah, I'd be okay with them at third base if they brought Cody Bellinger back. I would have no problem.
But he can't be the reason he can't be the solution to Cody Bellinger being gone, that he's at third or first.
No, he's not replacing Cody Bellinger's offense. There's no way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So they're gonna have to add on to that. So hopefully, it'd be great to keep those 2 guys.
But he's somebody else that's not necessarily guaranteed to be back, Candelario.
Absolutely. And again, Cub fans got to see the best of him when he was here in July, and then in August, and then unfortunately in September. A back injury is really going to the back injury is going to derail him a little bit. So we'll see what happens. But I will tell you, Dustin, that August, the month of August, when you're sitting there winning 18 out of 27 games, I'll take that anytime.
Oh yeah, listen, you spread that out over the course of a baseball season, this would have been almost a 100-win team. You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast. It's season number 2. It's episode 79, the Cubs' best month of the season. Don't forget, listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. In this segment, Crawly interviews Stewart McVicar, founder of Club 400, to talk about the guest that visited the world's best man cave as he continues its goal to raise $1 million for Cubs fans in need. Cub fans helping out other Cub fans, Crawly.
Joining me now on the Fly the W podcast, I'm happy to have back our good friend Stewart McVicar of Club 400. Stu, buddy, how you doing tonight?
Crawly, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, man. It means the world to me that you're letting everybody know about Club 400. Cub fans helping Cub fans.
Yeah, it's the end of the season, and we're kind of getting near kind of the end. And, I just kind of always love to look back at everything that Club 400 has done over the year. And it just felt, like 2020 just killed us all. And then this and that. But ever since all that, the pandemic stuff stopped, I mean, obviously stuff's still out there. But, when we got back to living again, to me, it felt like Club 400 really kind of came back, didn't miss a beat. And this year was really cool because you started January off with a fantasy camp in Las Vegas. Tell our listeners about that.
Well, I was lucky enough to attend the 2020 Cubs fantasy camp, which turns out will probably be the last Randy Hundley fantasy camp ever. And then, as you mentioned, COVID hit. And then we ended up carrying the torch, hoping that Randy was going to bring it back with Randy's permission and everything like that. My thought was, if Randy wasn't going to do it, why let campers go to another camp? We might as well try to keep it going and keep it Cubs related. So, we 3 years in a row, we started off with 2 teams in Huntley. Then we did 2 teams in Vegas. And this year we did 3 teams in Vegas. And it was unbelievable. We had Fergie Jenkins, Lee Smith, Bob Jr., and Ed Lynch as our coaches. And it kind of kicked off the year in the right direction because at that point in time, that's all we had going. I was so much concentrating on the fantasy camp. I had no clue what our next move was. But, to be able to carry the torch. And unfortunately, it looks like Randy's not going to have his camp in 2024. And we can only hope maybe in 2025 he'll bring it back. But I was happy to be able to do that for a lot of the campers that previously went to Randy's camps.
Yeah, because if all of a sudden, for guys that go to it all the time, it leaves a void when it's not there. Like, when we didn't have Cubs games or Cubs Con, like when something you look so forward to is gone, that's tough. So it was awesome that Club 400 was able to carry the mantle and excited to see what you got planned for 2025. But going back to 2024, you get done with the fantasy camp. And, I remember you and I talking about this and you and I talk and, hey, Crawly, what do you think about Justin Steele? I want to get Justin Steele. And at that time, I mean, if people remember in 2022, he was battling for the 5th starter spot and he really didn't hit his stride until the second half of the 2022 season. And eventually it's, Justin Steele. And that was the first party. And you were on this podcast and we were saying, get these tickets now because this guy has a chance to be a Cy Young. And what a party and what a year for Justin Steele.
I mean, first of all, if you haven't been to a Club 400 party, I said it on our video. Where the heck have you been? We're offering a unique experience that you can't get anywhere else. I don't know, in America, where you can walk into somebody's basement and you have like 80 to 90 people and you're doing Q&As, you're doing autographs, you're doing pictures, the food and beverages are there for you to have. I mean, it's just remarkable. The Justin Steele party really set the tone for the rest of the year. And, it was funny because when I introduced Justin Steele, as I was bringing him down the stairs, we gave him our big Club 400 welcome. I said, this guy's going to be the Cy Young this year, so watch out. And, obviously he didn't quite become the Cy Young, but he was in the top 5 for sure. And he had a heck of a year. And it was a great night. And Justin Steele, what a season he had. It was great. It was a great way to kick off our guests here at Club 400 in 2023.
Yeah, I got a picture up myself and Danny Rocket. We did a parody of Wanted Dead or Alive about Justin Steele. He loved that. And I got to do the Q&A, which was fun. And I kind of just put the picture up here for people that are subscribed to the Scores YouTube channel, just the Club 400 family, just always a good time, always having a lot of fun. And while after the Justin Steele party, we did a lot of fun stuff. We went to Iowa a couple times. They're always going to games and stuff like that. But you had something big planned for the next event, which was in August. And that was a party that definitely did not suck. Joe Madden. I mean, that one was in the works for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, actually, I've had a relationship with Special Olympics for a while, Brian Weymouth. We were talking about doing something long ago, and then, COVID hit, and then it just made a lot of sense that, Joe obviously didn't have a job managing at the time. And, Joe's a big supporter of Special Olympics. So we got Joe to come here, and, I want to let everybody know that Joe came here free of charge, and we raised $75,000 for Special Olympics. And that was one of our larger events. Justin Steele was about 100 people. The Joe Madden was 250 people. But it was awesome because we had a lot of other things going on that night. But we had our first ever exclusive Club 400 item, the scorecard. The lineup card for Game 7 that Joe Madden signed. I was really proud to launch our first exclusive item here at Club 400 and Madden. And as you guys know, if anybody's been to the Sports Spectacular, any autograph shows, he's just so personable. He's so humble. He's so easy to talk to. Joe, I always say the party is only as good as the guest, and Joe Madden was an unbelievable guest. And like I said, man, we broke our all-time record for money raised in one night, and that's because Joe didn't charge us. That's one of the main reasons. And we are lose $75,000, which our previous record was $66,000 for the Anthony Rizzo Foundation. So it was awesome,
And Stu, for people that have never been to Club 400, you don't know who might also show up. This is a picture of myself with Bobby Dernier and Jody Davis. So they did a Q&A. And then later on, Ron Coomer did a Q&A with Joe Madden. And this picture is one of my favorites because this is Bobby D and Jody. And they came up and surprised Joe. Joe had no idea this was going to happen. They went and said, you tell us who you would pick, an 84 guy or a 2016 guy. And Joe was just, what was that answer he gave for the center fielder, Bob Dernier or Dexter Fowler? What did he call him?
Bobby Fowler?
Bobby Fowler. I think
that was it. I didn't get to catch the Q&A. I gotta watch it. Actually, I gotta watch your channel. We're gonna actually put the podcast on the Club 400 podcast soon, so we can relive that. But it was awesome. Yeah, that night was awesome. I mean, yeah, you're only coming to see Joe Madden, but you're gonna, we're gonna always have a little extra guys there, and it was Joe Kilgallen, obviously Chicago's favorite comedian, was the host, and we had Pete's Diary out as the band, and he has his own remarkable story in itself. I thought it's fit perfect for the Special Olympics thing, and it was another great night at Club 400. Probably I really enjoyed I don't tend to enjoy like myself at larger events because I'm getting pulled in a lot of directions, but for some reason, I think it was because Joe was so awesome. I was able to relax and enjoy it myself, and it was a great party. It was like probably the largest event, the most enjoyable largest event I've ever done, and I was just really happy to do $75,000 for Special Olympics.
I saw him 2 weeks ago at the autograph show in Schaumburg, that new one that they just started, and I saw him and he said, "Hey," and I said, "How's did you get everything up in the firehouse yet?" And he's like, "No, but when I do, I can't wait." And he's all excited because he went home with some swag too. So he. You guys always treat the guests so well, and then they always go home not empty-handed. Let's put it that way.
Oh no, we have a remarkable network of Cub fans. Like Bill Watts, Fly of the Wood. There's a whole bunch of guys I could name that always really are part of the reasons why we raise so much money. It's because of the network of Cub fans, and we've had some sponsors, not many. Tovar was one of our great sponsors, but we did get 3 or 4 sponsors for the August party, and that was another reason why we were able to kick butt. But yeah, we're looking for sponsors down the line that'll keep us going and heading in the right direction, so we can give away more money to Cub fans. And honestly, that was a rare thing because my goal is always to help out individual Cub fans and families and stuff like that. And that's where in the future I really want to direct myself is keep it local, keep it Cub fan related for sure.
Now, it's you barely even had time to breathe after the Joe Madden party, but the next one was special. You and I talked about it because we watched this guy growing up, and that was Shawan Dunston. And the thing about, I love Joe. and I love listening to him. I could listen to him forever. But, now he's one of those guys that is kind of in the circuit. You know what I mean? You can see him in a lot of different places. Sean Dunston's a guy that, I remember last time I saw him at Cubs convention was years ago when his son was in the Cubs minor league system, Sean Dunston Jr. And I hadn't seen him forever. I didn't have autographs from him, nothing. And all of a sudden you're like, yeah, my 50th birthday party, Sean Dunston. And oh my God, I think from a lot of people that I talk to, and I talk to a lot of people that go to a lot of your events, that was a surprise of how enjoyable and how fun it was with Sean, how down to earth, he's a very humble guy. And his Q&A, Justin Steele from the MVP show on Marquee, he did the Q&A on that one. That was just something else. I mean, it was really a special night.
You know what? Sean Dunston was a guy I was trying to get out for a very long time. And honestly, when I was able to book him, I was excited. But, like you said, I didn't know much about Sean Dunston because he doesn't do a lot of public appearances. And I was really happy to get him to come out here the weekend he was inducted to the Cubs Hall of Fame. And as you know, it was my 50th birthday that night. So I didn't know what to expect with Sean, but he blew me out of the water. I mean, I'll tell you what, he called me last night actually, because he just got his box of gifts that we sent him. And man, you know what? He's a salt of earth type of guy. He's super cool, super calm. He's funny. He's humble. His wife was amazing. And that was a special night. And as you know, we had the Sean-o-meter out here that night, the original Sean-o-meter. And that was just, and our photographer took pictures with Sean Dunston. And then he took pictures with the guests with the Sean-o-meter in it, man. And I'll tell you what a heck of a night. Like I said, that's a night that I won't forget for a very long time. And Sean Dunston just rocked the house. I mean, honestly, I'm going to put him in my top 5 guests of all time here at Club 400. I mean, we've had a lot of great guests, but there's something about Sean. I think he just surprised me. And and when I say that, I don't mean it negatively. I just didn't know him. I had no clue what to expect. And his kindness just blew me out of the water. And you know what? And I was like wondering, like, what is going on? Why is the autograph line taking so long? And that's because when you went up to Sean Dunston, he wasn't signing. He was talking to everybody. He was engaging with people. And like, if you went to that party, you felt like, I'm pretty sure, because you got a really good handle on who Sean Dunston is as a person. And I told Sean, I said, Sean, man, if you want to go back out in the public and you want to be representing the Cubs, you would be awesome at it. And I mean, some people like to stay in the game and some people don't want to stay in the game for whatever reason. But if Sean wanted to be back in baseball as far as a figurehead for the Chicago Cubs, he would be amazing. He would be simply amazing. God bless Sean Dunston. And I'll tell you what, having him on my 50th birthday meant the world to me.
Yeah, it was so much fun. And then, for a good ender of the season, you had the first ever Club 400 Chicago event with, again, another one of our favorite players growing up, Mr. Andre Dawson. And just, Andre is another just quiet, humble, it's like he's a Hall of Famer. He's a Gold Glover. He's all this stuff, but he's just a really quiet guy that just really is very friendly. And it was, he's just a blast. And not only that, you had a party where it was also a bourbon tasting. Sean Dunston is Andre Dawson is working with Cooperstown Distillery. And, everybody that came got to try the different bourbon, and it's in this crazy baseball container. It was just a fun night. It was a fun night listening to Andre Dawson tell some of those great stories.
Yeah, and where can you hang out with Andre Dawson with about 30 people there? Are you kidding me, man? I think about it now. We had Fergie Jenkins, Lee Smith, Andre Dawson, 3 Hall of Famers involved in our events. So yeah, I don't know. I would have to say that, and I'm going to say it for the first time, 2023 was definitely our most successful year in Club 400 history. Not only for the events that we had, because every event was a slam dunk and was a winner, but also because we will raise almost $100,000 when it's all said and done by the end of the year. And you know what? Last year I wasn't completely happy with the amount of money that we put out there, but this year it was the comeback tour, man. And, the comeback tour was awesome, and it was, like I said, not only were they awesome events, but we raised the most money in 1 year that Club 400's ever done, and it's been amazing.
And if people follow you on Facebook at the Club 400 public page or on your Twitter, what you'll find is that your social calendar gets filled up really quick. And so even though there's no baseball, there's still Club 400 events always going on. What do you got cooking for November?
Well, yeah, like I said, man, and I want to let all the listeners know this, I don't take any money from Club 400. I'm lucky enough to have my own job, my own company that we do heating and air conditioning. So this is my passion project. So when you come to a Club 400 event, you're also donating to charity. And so we go event to event. Like Club 400 is completely broke right now, which kind of sucks. But so that's why we're having our good friends at Randall Roadhouse are having a meat raffle. Randall Roadhouse is located in Algonquin on Randall Road, obviously. And he's been so good to us since day one. If you've been to a Club 400, I'm sure you've had their food because he's an amazing guy. And we've done that. We did this last year, and we're going to do it again, and we're going to raise a little bit of money. And during it's going to be 1 to 4 at Randall Roadhouse in Algonquin on Saturday, November 4th. As you know, the Cubs, Wrigley Field will be open for the Northwestern Iowa game, so we'll have the game on there, and they're going to have a full staff, and we're going to have a great day that day, and all the money is going to benefit Club 400. And and before we move on to that, Crawly, we just released a video not long ago, and we only got to do one this year, unfortunately, but we were so busy doing other things. But our Honoring Cub fan program, if you want to go check out our latest video, the Rose family, we took them to Wrigley Field, and we want to do more of those. We want to do 3 or 4 of those, but we are a small operation. I do most of the work. Of course, we have a lot of great volunteers, but I'm the one like behind the scenes setting all these events up. But we want to do more of those, and that's where sponsors will come in, so we can bring 3 or 4 families to Wrigley Field and give them that experience, and give them lifetime memories. And that I want to continue to do to the day I die, because honestly, I love doing the big events and I love writing big checks. But like to take a family to Wrigley Field who's going through hell is like the greatest thing and the most rewarding. I know there's. We have a Club 400 family, as you know, with about 80, 90 people. I wish I could have grabbed every single one of those and put them on my shoulder and bring them with me, because it's so rewarding, So, yeah, November 4th is our next fundraiser for Club 400. And then on November 5th, actually, which we've done for the last 3 or 4 years, we're bringing a bunch of the Cubs workers over to Club 400. And you know what? We're going to give back to the people that really make Wrigley Field work on a daily basis, the ushers, the security staff. There's no front office people. These are the people that really don't get enough recognition as they should. And we're going to throw them a party, open bar, prizes, and so forth and so on. You know what? And it's really great because, Crawly, everybody knows who you are when you walk in Wrigley Field. But, I'm honored to represent the little guys. And I don't mean them little at all. But, these guys, they're often not thought about. And to be able to bring them out and give them a great day and say thank you for what you do at Wrigley Field and making Wrigley Field so special and keeping us safe. And it's a small token of my appreciation to those guys. And I have to thank Frank Walker Jr. for picking Club 400 again for the spot to do that. So
and they forgive us when we do dumb things, which we always appreciate.
I have to behave myself a lot more now because people know who I am. But, I have no problem with that. And then, we just announced not too long ago, we did it last year. And as you know, it was a blast. Our good friend Dave Arnold is going to host at Crystal Lake, Illinois, the Club 400 Music Trivia. And you know what? It's going to be, crappy weather. Actually, the Chicago Sports Spectacular is going on that weekend. So you can go to the Sports Spectacular, then you can come out to Holiday Inn in Crystal Lake and play some music trivia. We'll have food, drinks, and it was a great time last year. And it was like, I want to do it because I had such a good time, and it's a lot less work for me. I kind of give the reign to Dave, and he kind of runs it. But yeah, we're looking forward to doing that. And the people at Holiday Inn, that's where we put most of our players when they come out to Club 400. We usually put them there, and a lot of our guests from out of town stay there. And I know there's been a lot of parties that have broken out late night at Holiday Inn Crystal Lake without me, and I'm kind of jealous about that. That's the only drawback of living so close. I never can go to the hotel parties afterwards.
The only thing I'll say is if there is any music ringers, I think we're losing someone from our team is not going to be there. So if there's any ringers, you can always contact me. And if you know your music, we'd love to have you on my team because we were defeated last time at Crystal Lake, which I wasn't happy about.
Anybody who knows Crawly don't like to lose.
I don't like losing, but here's the thing is that all these people, sometimes, you know how it is. If like, you don't know people, some people aren't as comfortable as you or I to go to a new event, but the people, once they go, they're like, well, why didn't I go for so many years? That's so dumb of me. And it's like, if don't be afraid, we are like the most friendly people. You come up, talk to any of us, meet people, like-minded people. The only requisite really is that you love the Cubs and that you care for other people. And that's about the only thing we ask. And so if you are thinking like, I've never been to a Club 400 event, these are kind of smaller little events that you can kind of get to know people and start to meet people and become part of the community and start to help out. And it is truly an elite group that I think really is the best of the best when it comes to Cub fans helping Cub fans. And Stewart, I appreciate everything that you do. If you could do me a favor and just plug, you got the podcast and your socials, give it a quick plug so that people know where they can find you so they can come join us for all these fun events coming up.
Yeah, you can find us on the three big ones, and I'm not too good at social media. I'm really disgusted at the amount of followers we have, but I blame myself. We are on Facebook, Club 400 public page. Check us out there. If you sign up, you're not going to miss a beat on there. And then we're also on Twitter, Club 400 Cubs, and then we're also on Instagram, Club 400 Cubs, also there too. So come and check us out, and like Crawly said, don't be afraid to come out, and because you're gonna, like, most of the people that come here come back because they have an amazing time. We're offering something that you can't get anywhere else. Like, the sports shows are great, but you're in the line and you got people in front of you pushing your way through. You're getting to hang out with these guys in the basement for 3 to 4 hours, and you're getting to know these people, these players, beyond the uniform. And then, Crawly, and I know, like, especially you're getting to know these players really good, and you tend to really pull for them a lot more, and you're probably a little bit easier on them when they're failing because you know the trials and tribulations of how hard it is to become a major leaguer. My daughter asked me today, like, Dad, how do these ball players have jobs? I go, no, baseball is their jobs. And she's like, how come you didn't become a baseball player, Dad? Because I wasn't any good. But I mean, it's these guys are people too, and they have families and they have issues like we all do. But I love getting to know the players more than anything, and who they are and what they're all about, and that's the greatest thing about it, I think.
Absolutely. As we're talking tonight and I'm like sitting there and I'm watching Kyle Schwarber, I just remember him at the party. And that's what you're talking about is that, the Club 400 family is one that just is bonded together, whether these guys move on or whether they come back or whatever happens, is that you remember those things. And that's what makes it special. So Stu, I really appreciate you jumping on.
One more thing, I would like to tell your listeners this: Kyle Schwarber was also in my top 5, and I'm not going to say how many, but he did the most shots out of any Cubs player, and that shouldn't surprise any of you guys out there. I also want to break news tonight. And I don't have, and you can follow us on social media to learn more, but our Christmas party will be December 9th, so save the date. We're going to do something very special that night. Crawly, I know you're aware of it, and but if you could come out, tickets are only going to be $100, so, and we're going to release more details as we go, but Crawly, thank you so much for having me on, man. It means the world to me. And whenever I get to talk about my passion project, Club 400, and share it with people, and please come out to Club 400 if you haven't. I promise you, come up to me and say hello. I will show you a great night. I promise you that. And then you're going to have a lot more friends than you had before you walked in the door.
Couldn't say it any better. Take care, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, Crawly, great job with that interview. This is season 2. It's episode 79, the Cubs' best month of the season. You're listening to the Fly the W podcast. And Crawly, this time of year, we always get to the anniversary of the Bartman game, a game that you and I and all Cub fans remember greatly. And we've actually reached one of the milestone anniversaries, if you will.
Yep. On Saturday was the 20th anniversary of the Bartman game, or what I'm hoping in the future is called the Alex Gonzalez game. That I'll tell you, Dustin.
Whatever happened to that guy? Whatever happened to him?
Luckily, he was able to avoid all the stuff that poor Bartman does, and nobody's dressing like Alex Gonzalez, sitting like behind home plate like they were in Colorado. But Dustin, we were talking, before, just how it feels like yesterday, but at the same time, like ancient history when you think about it. I actually, for those of people that are subscribed to the Scores YouTube page, you can follow the Scores YouTube page and watch us on the Score. But I actually have, these are the tickets from that game, game 6. For younger listeners out there, I'm sure you've heard the story. I mean, the Cubs went up 3-1 against the Florida Marlins, and you had two of the best starters in baseball at home, game 6, game 7, in Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood. And Mark Pryor was just doing Mark Pryor things. He was rolling. And, Dustin, it was weird. I remember just like the festival atmosphere outside Wrigley that day. And it was weird. It was kind of bizarre, man. There was people dressed up as Santa Claus. There was a tap dancer, I remember, on a box. It was just like a carnival out there. It's ridiculous. And, the amount of people out in the Waveland and Sheffield was unbelievable. So
people just wanted to be there when they might actually clinch this thing, huh?
Right. They were all just wanted to be there when they clinched there, and I'm there, and I'm definitely, I'm excited, but it was like a very confident nervous. Wasn't as nervous as I normally am for these playoff games because I had seen what Pryor had done. I was at Pryor's debut. I had been watching him all 2002, 2003. And, when the Cubs go up 3-0 and he's just cruising, I mean, they're not even close to him. I remember sitting in the back of my head and I'm like, okay, I know where my vendor is. I want to be like one of the first people that gets like a NL pennant winning shirt. And I like already was kind of starting in my head, like getting excited as we got into the 7th inning and we get into the stretch. And I don't know if people remember this. It was Bernie Mac, who was leading the stretch, Chicago comedian who's passed away since then. And the one bizarre thing is, they always say root for the Cubbies, but he said root for the champs. Champs is what he said twice.
Oh boy. And
everyone was kind of like, let's not do that just yet. That's kind of like taking your W flag out early. And so you get to the 8th inning and, I just remember, my seats weren't where they are now. They were more kind of towards home plate, but further up. Okay. So if I was in my seats now, I would have been directly above where the play happens. Foul ball off the bat of Mordecai, I want to say, Mordini. Either way, pop fly off the end of his bat. And what I see from my vantage point is all of a sudden, Alou's going nuts. He's literally throwing his glove on the ground and he's pointing up into the stands and he wanted interference called. And I always laughed because the thing about Alou is he was not a good fielder. And I never saw him ever once in the entire couple of years he was at Wrigley. Never did I see him go towards that close to the wall. The only thing is he kept his chew back by the little inside in between the padding. That's where he would keep his tobacco. And he would literally, that's it. He never would go out there. The fact that he went over there the one time. And so what I remember more than anything is the play doesn't get made. Everyone's like, oh, but not everybody realizes exactly what happened, especially where we are on the third base side.
And there weren't any video boards then.
No video boards. Okay?
No video replay.
No. And the Cubs are up 3-0. And it's still the top of the 7th. You got one guy on and you got one out. And all of a sudden, a ball gets hit to Alex Gonzalez. And he was so surefire. And he botches an ending double play. Okay.
Well, the worst part was he didn't even get the force out, right? He didn't even get the force out at second. He got nothing on that. Nothing. That was the biggest problem. At least if he would have gotten the force out, maybe, right? But instead they get nothing.
Nothing. So yeah, it was a mess. And now you got 2 men on, and the next thing the thing that I end up remembering is all of a sudden they just, I remember Pryor just not looking just like that. It was like Pryor disappeared. It was like a ghost of a man. Like I don't know what happened. And then they called in Kyle Farnsworth, and the next thing you know, the Cubs are down 8-3. They were up 3-0 to start the inning. And the thing I remember more than anything is that there were no jumbotrons, but if our listeners remember, behind you, if you look behind you underneath the concourse, they have these little box TVs. And in these box TVs, you all of a sudden you're starting to realize what happened during the inning, right? So like as the inning's going on and it's not ending and the pitching change and all that stuff, is that everybody's watching the box TV and they're like, who's that guy? What is he doing? And I used to have a friend of mine that sat a couple rows above me that would have headphones on all the time, listening at that time to the other Pat and Ron Santo. Ron wasn't, I don't think Ron was calling those games. He was sick. I think Steve Stone was on the radio call with Pat Hughes.
Really?
And
Really?
Yeah. Because they didn't have the TV. So Stoney was out of the TV because it was national.
Okay. Yeah, national.
And Stoney was with Pat. Santo might have been in there, but I know for sure it was Pat and Stone. Wow. And and I had a buddy listening on the headphones, and they're all telling me some guy interfered with the ball. And the more people got upset, and as more as that inning dragged on, that's when people got pissed at Bartman, and that's when things just kind of got out of hand. And I remember people chanting the a-hole from the streets. You could hear it, and it was just, they were all pointing and shouting, asshole, and the whole time. And all of a sudden, right, it got out of hand really bad. And there's a famous story, Michael Jordan's at the game. He had kind of become friends with that group and all that stuff. And he said, I don't want to go out there. He's like, they look like a bunch of zombies out there after the game. And I can tell you, in all honesty, I was one of those zombies, just like wandering around stunned. And obviously now in hindsight, we know it was nothing to do with Bartman. We all would have done the same thing. But it was a mob mentality that took over Wrigley Field. And unfortunately, if the Cubs win Game 7, he would have been
forgiven.
Just, yeah, all's forgiven, not a problem.
Everybody forgets. Yep.
Right. And it doesn't happen. And it really was just so crushing. And it was a night that I'll never forget. Probably one of the worst moments of my life at Wrigley Field.
What was it like walking out of there that night?
It felt like you got punched in the face, like you got blindsided. Like it was imagine like the highest high going to the lowest low. Like we literally, people, and I never heard this ever in my life, where they were chanting 6 more outs. And then they get the first one in the 8th inning, and it's 5 more outs. And I remember, and the more they were chanting, I wasn't chanting that, but I was definitely getting excited. And like I said, like in my head, how am I going to scramble? Like I want to watch them celebrate, but I want to make sure I get a shirt before they sell out and a hat, and I'm all jacked up. And then the next thing you know, you lost. And it was like, we were 5 outs, Dustin, 3-0 lead, your best pitcher. It was
my wife was in tears. Yep, my wife was in absolute tears.
And again, I was getting angry at, and to this day, I felt like Dusty mismanaged a lot there. I'll never forgive Dusty for a lot of the things that happened that day and the next couple weeks. But I'm waiting for somebody to go, even after the Alex Gonzalez error. I'm waiting for Dusty or Larry Rothschild go out, have a meeting in the mound, chill everybody out. And like nothing's happening, and you were feeling a momentum shift, and I was like, "What is going on here?"
Is today, Crawly? Then is today the anniversary of Game 7?
No, Game 7 would have been Sunday because it was boom boom.
Oh, boom boom. Okay.
Yeah, it was game.
Were you at Game 7?
Yeah, I was at Game 7, and it was Kerry Wood and Mark Redmond. And the thing I remember about that is that neither pitcher really had it. Both of them looked bad. And what ends up happening is Cubs get out early, and then the Marlins come back and take the lead. And then Kerry Wood hits a home run, and the place is one of the very few times that I've ever felt Wrigley shake. I felt Wrigley shake about 5 or 6 times in my life. That was one of them, how loud it was when he hit that home run. But the thing, and again, this goes back to my hatred towards Dusty, is that I'm taking a look at the bullpens because the bullpens are still out there. And what I'm taking a look at is, Dusty's going to his tried and true bullpen, which was the weakest part of that team. He's going with Dave Veers, and I'm looking at the other bullpen, and Jack McKinnon's got Josh Beckett up. He's going for the kill. He's not going to give it to some, middling bullpen arm like Dusty did. So I'll never forget that, and I doubt I'll ever forgive Dusty for, like I said, just a lot of things. And it was never his fault. He never took any blame for anything. And even so, I have that Bartman photograph. I have it signed. That picture signed by Alou, Mark Pryor, and Dusty Baker. And Dusty was the last guy to sign it. And he sat there, and I said, "Hey, Dusty, you mind signing this?" Because I didn't know how you'd react to it or nothing. And he looks at me and he goes, "Yeah, you guys really gave him a hard time." And I'm like, You were there too, man. I remember the post game. You were talking. Don't pretend like it was all on us, man. You were just as responsible. And he now, his he don't remember it that way, but I clearly remember him talking about it in the post game about Bartman and stuff like that. And he wasn't saying, "Oh, the kid had nothing to do with it." No, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not remembering it right, but I can tell you, I got a pretty darn good memory when it comes to that kind of stuff. And so I'm like, yeah, dude, no, you had plenty to do with that, Dusty. So
yeah,
is what it is.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, it was definitely a bad time right there.
I will tell you, I did have, I had nightmares of the silence. And the thing you never forget, and I've seen it too many times, but probably I saw it 4 times. 4 times where I saw it. Wait, no, actually more than that. I'm sorry. 5 times I've seen teams celebrate on the field to end the season. But in 2003, when the Marlins came pouring out of the dugout, Game 7, the silence in Wrigley Field was so much that I could hear the Marlins celebrating on the field from the 400 level, like 400 row 12. I could hear them literally screaming and yelling. That's how silent it was. And that silence haunted me until the Cubs won the World Series in 2016.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
It really did.
That's wild.
Yeah,
that's absolutely wild. Those are good memories, Crawly. Thanks for sharing those. I'm serious. I mean, and being there makes it, different. I mean, we all have a story about who we were with and being out at a bar and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, very cool. All right, so we've made it, Crawly. We've got to we were at the Final Four of baseball. The last time we were together, we were still missing the 4th piece, but I think both you and I were believing in Philly. I think you had the Braves winning the Game 4 and forcing a Game 5, but I think we both thought Philly would advance, and they did indeed advance.
I stuck with my pick. I thought the Braves were going to be able to turn it around and beat the Phillies, but for the second season in a row, the Phillies knock out the Braves. They win 3-1. Ranger Suarez took the mound for the Phillies, while Cy Young candidate Spencer Strider took the mound for Atlanta. It was a good pitcher's duel, but Austin Riley gave the Braves a 1-0 lead on a solo home run in the 4th. That did not last long, as former Cub Nick Castellanos homered in the bottom of the inning to tie it at 1. Trey Turner would add a solo home run in the 5th to make it 2-1. And then one more Nick Castellanos solo blast in the 6th would make it 3-1. Atlanta's powerhouse offense did nothing, and their season was over. Dustin, after the game, Ronald Acuna didn't have much to say to the press. He didn't speak to reporters, just grabbed his bags and said, "I have to go to the bus." Dustin, do you think the bus was going to leave without Ronald Acuna?
No, I don't think they were going to leave without Ronald Acuna. No.
You know what? You know, Dustin, though, here's the thing that bothers me, man, is I understand that he was emotional about it. He was obviously disappointed. When the Braves won the World Series, he wasn't really part of that team because of injuries, right? Mm-hmm. And this was his season. The what was it, 50-70 club and all that stuff. Or is it 40-70? 40-70, I want to say.
47,
whatever.
Yeah.
You sit there and you take a look at it, and you had time to do a montage video, and you had time to raise the base, but then you couldn't talk to the beat writers and the reporters after the game's over. You just run to the bus and hide. We were talking to Paul Sullivan the other day about the Brandt Brown Seiya Suzuki comparisons. And you know what? Both of those guys sat there and under the worst possible situation, took the heat and sat there answering questions. Seiya doesn't even speak English, okay? And he sat there and he answered with the interpreter the entire time after being devastated. And you know, it wasn't Ronald Acuna's fault. There wasn't one thing Ronald Acuna did that caused him to lose. I thought that was a coward move to have your teammates sit there and have to answer all the questions, especially why you're running away.
Absolutely. I couldn't. Crawly, you and I agree on a lot of things. I think this is probably something I could not agree with you more.
Right. It's you gotta face the music, man. So the Diamondbacks now know their opponent, but on Sunday we got our first World Series game as the Texas Rangers headed to Houston to take on that aforementioned Dusty Baker and the Stros. If you were a Rangers fan, you had a lot to be nervous about. Texas has gone 8-32 since 2019 at Minute Maid Park. But if they were nervous, the Rangers didn't show it. Great pitching matchup with future Hall of Famer Justin Verlander on the mound versus former Cardinal Jordan Montgomery. Verlander was able to go 6.2 innings, gave up 6 hits and 2 runs, which you think would be good enough, but Jordan Montgomery was just a little bit better, going 6.1 innings, gave up 5 hits and no runs. Rookie left fielder Evan Carter hit a double that deflected off first baseman Jose Abreu, and that kid just kept motoring to second. He would come around to score on a Jonah Helm RBI single to make it 1-0. Leody Taveras hit a solo home run in the top of the 5th to make it 2-0, and that was it for the scoring in the game. The Astros did try to tie it up in the 8th when Jose Altuve drew a leadoff walk. Bruce Bochy goes to former World Series champion Aroldis Chapman, and Alex Bregman greeted him with what looked like a home run. It looked like at least extra bases, but again, Evan Carter makes a fantastic catch, throws it to second. Altuve was rounding second. He goes back to first, and the Rangers tag second, and then they challenge the call, which was safe. They go back on replay. Altuve's legs got a little tangled up, and he misses the base. The call's overturned on the field. That's the old 7-6-3 double play. Threat was over, and Rangers take game 1. Dustin, that was that was again just one of those wild postseason plays.
And the Rangers, Crawly, right? And the Rangers, Crawly, they're 6-0 right now in the postseason. 6-0.
6-0.
Haven't been touched yet. Right.
It's what I said, man. They're hot.
And it's not always blowouts. They have been playing playoff baseball for a good month now. And I think that's kind of why that they're like this. Not that the Astros weren't. The Astros were playing important games too down the stretch. They needed the weekend in Arizona to get themselves in as well. But it's the Rangers are in really good form, and I'm really excited about the Phillies and D-backs later on tonight.
Now, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but again, we did not have the actual, we didn't have exactly who was going to be playing. You're still sticking them with the Phillies to beat
I'm Rangers.
The
They'll beat the Diamondbacks. I've got it. I got Rangers over Astros, Phillies over Diamondbacks, and I'm already ready to predict Phillies over Rangers. And this gets us into something. Let's tease this for the next episode, Crawly. I'm sure you're a Cub fan that would agree with me on this, but watching what the Phillies are doing up to this point, wouldn't it be nice to have Harper, Schwarber, and Castellanos playing at Clark and Addison?
Absolutely, and it didn't even have to be those guys, but just the willingness to spend money to get better.
See what happens, right? What happens, right? Mm-hmm.
Right. That same offseason that you could have gotten Bryce Harper, you could have also gotten Manny Machado. Think that would have settled your third base problem?
Right. And so that's something we're going to have to talk about next. Let's see how this plays out. But, Tom and Jed can't let Bellinger get out of here unless there's some other wild plan that is going to pacify us Cub fans.
Absolutely.
All right, Crawly, that is a wrap. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Follow the socials, Facebook, Instagram, of course, on Twitter. Email us, flythew670@gmail.com. And as you mentioned earlier, Crawly, you can now watch us on YouTube by subscribing to the 670 The Score YouTube channel.
It's even if the Cubs aren't in it, postseason baseball is an absolute joy to watch. And we're going to keep going. Don't forget to leave those 5-star reviews, and go Cubs. Hey guys, it's Crawly. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. If you want to see more of our videos, Be sure to check out our playlist and let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date with our latest episodes. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Go Cubs!